Oh boy, this is gonna be a doozy. Welcome to my budget deck channel where I try to make decks as cheap and playable as possible. So if this is something you'd be interested in, then why not subscribe? Finally another video, and it's another pack. Yes, I love these, but you can already tell by my, well, mood changing a little bit that this pack is not something I am overly happy about, and mainly from a budget player's perspective, but also from a general what is in this pack perspective. You can already see, if you look at the highlighted cards, these are the ones that are new in the pack, and you can already see there's quite a few old ones in here as well, which doesn't necessarily have to be bad. It gives you another chance to pick them up, especially if you want to go for specific decks. That can be very nice, but I'll be talking about why I am unhappy with this pack, and it should be fairly obvious. We have obviously another Sky Striker card. Yay, we need those. They're super great Sky Strikers. Woohoo. Yeah, the card is decent. Obviously it had to be notary again. I feel like it didn't really need to be. It's a nice addition to it. Can do quite a lot. People will be probably playing one. I've never been much of a Sky Striker player, so yeah, not much of an idea if or not. Two light and or dark monsters is very interesting, because theoretically you can also use this card outside of Sky Strikers, so there is that one as well. But this one doesn't really matter too much, I think, because you can just go into it anyway with the effects of the other ones, if I'm not mistaken. But we have Ignister Prominence, one of the cards that is new in here, and yes, it's a decent card. It's absolutely a decent card, especially for the Draco Slayer deck, but I'll be talking about the Draco Slayer deck in a second. And well, you want to pick up, I think, at least two of this to play it if you really want to be playing the Draco Slayer deck the way it's commonly played. Because this card is, well, not hard once per turn, and so this one can work out very, very well. And also, yeah, you can use it if you summon it back from the graveyard with certain effects. There's lots of different cards that you can be using. So this card very, very strong for this specific deck as well. It's not really played outside of this deck all that much, but yeah, you would need at least two, if I'm not mistaken, if you want to be playing the deck on a more competitive level. So there's that. We have Chaos Angel in here, a card that, because of its effect, that for this card Synchro Summon, you can treat one light or dark monster you control as a tuner. Fairly decent, fairly generic, I want to say. If you play dark or light decks, then this card can be a nice extra deck addition if you're not that big on your extra deck anyway. And theoretically, you can easily make this because you don't even need to be running a tuner, so you still have access to that card regardless. And the effect is absolutely fine. You can get rid of certain stuff if it's special summon, not only if it's synchro summon. So theoretically, if you revive it, that can also be sometimes helpful, and then theoretically can be unaffected, or monster you control cannot be destroyed by battle. I feel like the light effect is probably the more helpful one, but theoretically, you could argue the dark one isn't terrible in certain decks, because your opponent then, if you build if you build a board, then you can actually protect your whole board with it. So that can be nice. So your opponent has to get rid of your monsters with only card effects, all of them, or well, theoretically just Chaos Angel at first. So there's always that a bit of an issue. So it doesn't really matter all that much. We have the Arctos, the 12, if I'm not mistaken, Roman numerals for the win. We have an effect that is quite like the other Valence effects, because you can special summon stuff, you can move stuff. The effect of the card isn't bad, but it's also not like amazing. I kind of hoped for something that was a bit better than this one, but it's definitely a card that is very, very helpful. You can like quick effect use stuff, and then it does trigger stuff. It helps you a bit going first if you don't want to use the whole Cyberstein variant, but actually want to be playing Valence. I might be doing a Valence deck on my channel. I might be, it depends on what I pull out of this pack, because I wasn't the biggest fan of Valence the last time, and also I would be playing them a bit more pure than most other people would be, because it's a pendulum archetype, and pendulum archetypes are such a pain to deal with, because they all basically rely on you, well, use Beyond the Pendulum, use Electromite, and then do some crazy stuff rather than actually using those decks for what they're for. That's why I like Abyss Actors, because they cannot abuse all of these cards. So deck building is not only easier, but also a bit more focused on the actual archetype rather than just using them to end up on the exact same board as most other good stuff pendulum decks. We have now entered the Kashtira meta, yay. Well, not really, because Kashtira is still lacking lots of cards, which is, I kind of feel like it's a bit weird, because some cards have been included of the newer-ish ones, but a lot of cards are still missing. All the cards that feature the other archetypes that were in the same kind of, well, lore-wise, they are still missing, like the Telements one, the Scarecrow one, and so on. They are all not in this, and the ones that are in this are ultra rares, and this card is even limited to 2. You really don't have that many monsters to play with, especially not in a budget variant. I'm trying my best, okay? I will try my best to come up with something that is semi-playable. It will be very controlsy, very I don't know, but I have an idea depending on the build, so stay tuned for that. I will be making a Cash Tira deck profile one way or another. If it's gonna be good, who knows? Probably not even decent. This deck does need a lot more support to be meta relevant, I would say personally, but who knows. This card is just a general a very good go second staple that you can use instead of like Pankratops and whatnots, so definitely a card to be picking up. Talking about ultra rares, talking about the rarities of cards, we have another ultra rare. Ooh, you want to be running this card at 3. I think it's not, the spell cards aren't all out yet either, so that's a bit of an issue. This card used to be like well, in the decks in like TCG and whatnots, I think a 3-off, but we have a bit of the problem that yeah, we do lack some spell cards, but the effect is still fine. You can banish 1 card from it by looking at your opponent's extra deck. Very, very nice, especially against tier elements. Ooh, goodbye Kid Colors. So that can be somewhat decent. Obviously it's an ultra rare, so yeah, you are very limited on what cards you can be playing. And then we have the third ultra rare. Ooh, 3 main deck monsters, all that ultra rare slot. That is ridiculous, Konami. Come on, like absolutely mental. Why would you be doing this? This card is a classic level 4 searcher card. 100% sent to super rare, but hey, it is what it is. Konami's really banging one out here because they know this deck will be a meta contender, so we have to make it as expensive as possible, don't we? So yeah, this card also very nice addition. You usually want to be playing a 3-off, but we will have to find some way around this for a budget deck profile, because yeah, cannot be doing that one. Then we have Chaos Witch in here, an ultra that has no place of being an ultra in the first place. Its effect is okay-ish if it didn't have this clause. You can only use 1 Chaos Witch effect per turn. Yes, fair enough, it can generate like 2 extra tokens, but also locks you. And no, honestly, no, I don't. This card shouldn't be an ultra in the first place. The only way this card might have been able to be played somewhere, in my personal opinion, I'm not that much of a Chaos player because of the high rarities usually. Yeah, if it was a rare card, maybe someone would have splashed it into something, but I'm not going to be crafting this card or even using this card as an ultra rare. Like, I'm sorry, this is definitely, Konami's gone way overboard in this pack, 100%. This card, I understand why it's an ultra rare, wish it wasn't. Also, I feel like the image is one of the only ones that looks kind of, well, not well done. This kind of resolution's a bit lacking here. I feel maybe it's just my game, but all the other cards look fine, so it would suggest that it isn't. Very, very strong card. You want to be running this card at like 2 or 3. I don't know. I'm not played that much Amazement, but this card definitely a very, very strong addition. And I will be making an Amazement deck profile 100% because I do love the deck and I have waited so far till the new support came out, and this card can do quite a lot. We have now entered the Draco Slayer part of it, and who would have thought I'm going to get Raging as this one as well. I wish they would have not made them this expensive. I want to say I understand why they did it, because they didn't really gain a new boss monster, and introducing new cards, especially if they're like at least like somewhat meta relevant. Like, the deck is decent. I don't think it's going to be like the best deck or whatever, but it's fairly easy to play. Not easy to play, but it's fairly good to play. Annoyingly, they are ultra rares though, so I understand they wanted to introduce them as high rarity because it's theoretically new cards for a strong deck, but I'm sorry, like, does this card look like an ultra rare worthy card for you? Really not. Like, super rare, okay, I kind of get it, but all of them at high rarity. Now we go to the next one, another ultra rare. So unnecessary. They could have been such nice support for like Magispectre, such nice support for all of these pendulum decks that have been kind of neglected otherwise as well, because the effects do at least something for them and they function very well in their own deck. But not at this rarity, I'm sorry. Then talking about other rarity cards that I don't really like being ultra rare, is the Valence Field Spells. I feel like they could have been super rares or nothing at all, in my personal opinion. Looking at Generators, their Field Spell is a rare card, and people will still be playing it, people will still be having fun, people will still be spending money on it. So don't know, Valence was never like a meta contender either, so unnecessarily expensive. But we have both of them in here, so if you want to be playing Valence, you nearly get everything out of this pack that you need, besides some of the other fusion boss monsters, but they're usually found at like 0 or 1, so you can craft them if you want to. So this pack at least could potentially get you into a Valence core. There's that, but you see how many ultra rares there are and how many of them are actually worth pulling. We have now more Ice Striker stuff in the super rares. Obviously, this is in here, we knew it. Starring Knight, a card that you can play in the whole Story Knight theme with the dragon and whatnots, and it does stuff. Don't really know how good it is, but it's, I mean, it can come back and summon stuff from your hand, but that would mean you'd have to have quite some like draw engine or a way to recur them to your hand a lot, so it matters that you can special summon one from your hand, because usually you can just normal summon them once per turn anyway, and you don't have that many more in your hand anyway in the grind game, but it is what it is. This card exists. Might be decent, I don't know. We have Kashtira Shangri-Ira, and this card, very decent, very nice for the deck. Does quite a lot of stuff. You want to be picking up like 2 or 3 maybe, I don't know, 2 is that the sweet spot? Not 100% convinced. This card is, for some reason, not an auto. I mean, the reason now makes sense. Should have done it the other way around, should have made some of the main deck ones super rare. I understand that Fenrir is an auto rare because that's kind of more of a go second staple card as well, rather than just a good Kashtira card, but they could have just made this an auto, and the main deck one super rares, but they didn't want to, and yeah, Konami is making money with this one, which I am not too happy. I mean, I'm happy, don't get me wrong, I'm happy if Konami makes some money with the game, because obviously that is needed to keep the game afloat, but I feel like that there they have shown their true colors. It has been going that direction anyway. Chaos Arcfiend, a card that I understand why it's a super rare, but this could have been like a very neat level 8 rare cards that people would actually be using in some decks, because I feel like we're lacking like any good rare or normal level 8 Synchro monster. It is what it is. This card is not bad, but also not too crazy. It's okay. If you want to be playing like a Chaos themed deck, then this card is definitely not bad in it. We have Chaos Valkyria in here, a card that I also don't really like, that super rare. The effect is decent, but nothing more than that. We have Amazement Attendant and Comica in here. One of the Amazement cards, really unnecessary that this is in this pack, because I guess it's theoretically in here, so if you open this pack you gain access to the Amazement secret pack, so yeah, it makes sense to put one of them in here. Would have preferred if it was one of the, I think the spell or trap card, one of them that surges, would have preferred if it was that one, but in the end, if you want to be playing Amazements, you have to open the packs anyway. And we have Chaos Mirage Dragon in here, a card that I don't really, well, it's not bad. I want to say don't really like. It's a Worm Tuner, light monster, supports the whole Chaos thing, but also a super rare. Oh, really, like, I really wanted to be playing a Chaos deck, but not with those rarities, like 100% not. Then we have a card that is a Skyscraper card. It's called different, but it's treated as one, so there's that. I don't know if this card is any good. I don't think competitive variants would be playing this. You can be playing it, it can be interesting, and you theoretically can use it in different decks as well, because it's like a free special summon. Sadly level 6, but for a super rare I would not be crafting this anyway, but it can be nice. And this is obviously the biggest annoyance in here. Now this card is a super rare, is already annoying, and then this card is in this pack is even more annoying to me. Obviously we have Valence stuff in here. I already told you, you basically get a whole Valence core if you go into this pack, so that can be nice. We have the last one of the Draco Slayers at super rare. Ooh, look, Dynamist is still a bit cheaper than the rest. Yeah, I don't know. I will not be building these because this deck is incredibly expensive, and yeah, for the fact that not that many people actually like Pentium decks, I don't think it's worth it to put up on my channel in the first place, and I will be decrafting them for sure. Draco Face-Off is in here, at least they put this card in here as well. Also super rare that you want 3 of, if I'm not mistaken. Although the whole Draco Slayer stuff doesn't really work that well, because you're still lacking 2 of the other ones that existed before this, so it could be potentially problematic. Not sure how people work around this. Then we have Kashtira Birth in here, the only spell card in existence. Well, not really, but in Master Duel at least. It's okay, you can normal summon 1 level 7 monster without tributing. Works at least for all level 7 monsters, so if you want to put some other rank 7 turbo-y cards in this deck, then you can do it, although they're also quite high rarity, most of them, so not great. And doing a main phase, you can special summon 1 of your non-Xyz Kashtira monster that's banished out in your graveyard, so this can be quite nice if you keep recurring it, This is kind of what I want to be going for as well in my budget deck profile. Just keep getting them back, and from that point onwards then potentially win. And also you can get rid of cards in your opponent's graveyard. Can be nice against certain meta calls, but also against some decks this will be absolutely useless. Then we have Curse of Arametir, the card that's in here that gains you access to the new pack if the new pack with the new secret pack with the adventure stuff wouldn't already be free right now. So if you really want to be playing adventure deck, and this is one I'm going to be making on my channel, because I kind of find it interesting that you have different ways of getting tokens on board and whatnot. So yeah, very nice card. Does a lot for like the pure adventure token variant if you want to be playing that one. We have Valent Awakening. This card very, very good for Valence. Everything that does stuff from your deck is usually good, and this one is no exception, and you can use both effects in the same turn, so this is also quite nice. We have another card in here, a super rare slot, Made to Order Mermaid Outfit Outfitter. Very, very, very interesting name. Say that 3 times in a row. We can target one card in your opponent's graveyard, banish it. It's not even a quick spell. Then you can add one card from your deck to your hand with the same name as that banished card. Can get you access to like your hand traps. Theoretically, like you can then play this card and only play like one Ash Blossom and one Maxi, but theoretically it also doesn't, because it's still better to play the hand traps when you go second, because that's what they really do. I mean, of course, a lot of hand traps are also good when you go first, but yeah, I don't know. There's probably something that you can do with this card, but I don't think this is going to be relevant in any shape or form. And the last one, Chaos Phantasm. Not a card that I would be playing at all, and no way should this card be a super rare, in my opinion. In no shape or form should this be a super rare. This card is, I don't know, you can use it for certain plays, but maybe people would have used it if it was a rare like this. People are not going to be touching this, if I'm not mistaken. Might be, prove me wrong, play Chaos with this card, and maybe it's incredible. But yeah, I don't think it's that good that it had to be a super rare. Now we've reached some of the new cards that are in here. It's a Chaos Beast, fairly decent card if you want to be playing it. It's a level 6 synchro, so not that easy to go into, but there will probably be some ways to do so. We have Core of Chaos in here. It's an interesting card, at least. Can work for some of the Chaos decks. We have Shell of Chaos in here, also a card that can be somewhat good in the Chaos decks, but like I said, the Chaos decks are a bit annoying anyway. One Kashtira card that's actually not a high rarity, which I thought it wasn't going to be, is Ogre, that I will be utilizing because it can special summon itself, so this might be a 3-off in a budget version, and it can sort the trap card, which is okay. It's not terrible, but it's also not like amazing. We have that. Then we have more adventure token cards in here, so this can be interesting. We have Dragonic Pendulum in here, Dracosaur card. I'm not sure this card is played, but I might be wrong with that one. We have one card I have to say, Pit Knight early in here, and a normal slot. Didn't think they were going to be doing this. This card is played from time to time, and it has a very, very good effect with the whole negating effect. So this card, very good addition to the game. I just want to say this card is the saving grace of this pack for budget duelists, because now you can put this as a generic link monster in any kind of deck and you just get something out of it. So this, very, very nice. Very, very, very nice. We have some Amazement Attraction stuff in here. Quite nice that this is as a rare slot as well. Quite like that. Then we have a Turbo Tainted Hot Rod GT19. Very interesting. It's a flip card. Yeah, it exists, I want to say. We have a Mental Tuner in here as a Psychic. You can do some Psychic stuff. Can be helpful with certain things. We have a Meteor Rush Monocroid in here. This card, level 10 monster, can be doing some stuff. I don't think it's really very helpful. We have more Sky Striker stuff. I think it's from the anime or the manga it is, if I'm not mistaken. Interesting, but not really good. We have more of that in here as well. And then we have some red arrows in here. It's interesting because you can target 2 face-up monster in the extra monster zones and banish them until the end phase. I don't really know at what point you want to be using this, unless co-linking or extra, was it the extra link, U-link kind of thing becomes popular in the meta, then maybe this card is good. Other than that, yeah, it's a very weird kind of removal, because the monsters also come back. Obviously, if the zones aren't free, it doesn't. I think it doesn't come back to the extra monster zone, so it can be helpful, but usually not too good. We have a sweet Roommate in here, a card that has absolutely nothing to do really with the Dragon Maids, but if a card is sent from the hand or deck to the graveyard, target one card in either graveyard, shuffle into the deck, can be quite nice against certain meta decks. Like, this is a card to at least keep an eye on if you don't have things like Called by the Grave. If you're a budget duelist and you want to have options against certain graveyard decks, then this could be an option, potentially. Who knows, might be a thing. And we have Lila Rat in here. If you special summon a monster from your graveyard, you can make your opponent lose 1000 life points, and if they do, you gain 500. You can be playing this theoretically in the deck that it's designed to be, but I don't think you really do. It's an interesting one to burn your opponent for 1000 every time you summon stuff from the graveyard, but I don't think this is. There's many decks where this is played. Gladly, the Kashtira Trap is a normal rare as well. We have the Great Noodle Inversion version, very, very interesting. Add the bottom card of your deck to your hand, then take one card from your deck, shuffle and place that card on the bottom of the deck, which is interesting. I mean, you can add one card from your, like this, I don't know. I don't think this is going to be played all that much, but theoretically there might be uses for it. And we have Alpha Summon in here. Target one of your banished monsters, one of your opponent's banished monsters, special summon your monster to your opponent's field, and if you do, special summon that monster to your field. Yeah, don't know. There might be some way of making this card work, but I don't think that is really necessary. But I like to go over as a budget duelist, over the rare cards and normal cards that are new as well, to just see is any of them any good. Now let's talk about this pack. What do I think of this pack? And I will potentially personally give this pack like a 3 out of 10. Not necessarily for the archetypes in here. We have 2 archetypes that are fairly decent. Well, Kashtira not quite yet. We still lack some other cards. The Draco Slayers are fairly decent, and then some additions to certain decks that are meh-ish. What really brings this pack down for me is like the rarities. I mean, look at it. Sorry, like we have cards like Chaos Witch as an ultra rare. We have basically, as a budget duelist, no really playable Kashtira main deck monster besides Ogre. So this is nothing. From a budget point of view, I want to give this like a 1 out of 10. From a normal variant, I would say like a 3 out of 10, maybe 4 out of 10, because it will be somewhat meta relevant. But yeah, not the best pack. Not really convinced you should be buying this unless you really want Kashtira or the Draco Slayers. Then I don't think there's much of a way around it, sadly. Shrugs, bit annoying, but yeah. Hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, but most importantly, I hope you have a nice day.